Hi, and thanks for coming back to watch this video. The name of this one is going to be Obstructive Sleep Apnea Terminology. So the purpose of this video is to help people who have already been diagnosed with obstructive sleep apnea and they're going in to get their CPAP equipment, or they've had their sleep studies and their doctor's office is calling them, giving them the results. I just want to give you some of the terminology so that you'll have a base or a foundation. You can kind of understand what your doctor or your technician or your therapist is talking about. It'll make sense. So the reason I decided to make this whole series of videos is because I do work in the field of obstructive sleep apnea, and what I've noticed personally is that when people come in, they normally know someone who has obstructive sleep apnea, so a brother, a mother, cousin, someone from their church. This first video is going to be all terminology, just basic terminology over obstructive sleep apnea. And then the second video is going to be over modes of therapy, and then we'll get more into different types of mask styles, mask brands. Let's talk about obstructive sleep apnea. Here we go. So we'll start with the most basic term of all, obstructive sleep apnea, right? What is obstructive sleep apnea? It is when some people go to sleep at night, the soft tissues that line the airway will actually relax to the point where they actually block the airway itself. So when you hear people say soft tissues, or at least that's the term I normally use when explaining it, the soft tissues, I'm really referring to the tongue, the tonsils. Sometimes they're really big and people have small airways, or the soft palate itself. Okay, so when you lay down, go to sleep, if these things relax to the point where they block your airway, that's obstructive sleep apnea. Obstructive sleep apnea is broken into two different parts. So there's something called apneas. Okay, so that's when these tissues in your airway, if they relax to the point where they block your airway completely, that's an obstruction, and we call that an apnea, okay, or a complete blockage. Now, if the tissues in the airway relax to the point where they don't block the airway completely, but they've decreased the airflow, we call that a hypopnea. So normally when you get your sleep study results from your doctor's office, what they'll call it and tell you is, oh, you stopped breathing so many times per hour, or you had shallow breathing so many times per hour. In the world of sleep, we refer to that as your AHI. AHI stands for apnea hypopnea index. So it's on average normally how many times per hour you stop breathing. An AHI of 0 through 5 is not treated normally unless there are other symptoms that the physician says, well, let's at least try CPAP, or let's try something to treat this and see if it can help relieve whatever symptom it is. An AHI of 5 to 15 is considered mild sleep apnea. An AHI of 15 to 30 is considered moderate sleep apnea. And then anyone that's greater than 30 is in the severe category. Great, so just an overview of the terminology we've already touched. Obstructive sleep apnea is actually broken into two different types of events. They have apneas and you have hypopneas. Apneas are no airflow. Hypopneas decrease in airflow. Apneas and hypopneas are added together, averaged over the amount of time you actually sleep, and that is your AHI, your apnea hypopnea index. So the ranges for the apnea hypopnea index, 0 through 5, not treated at all. 5 to 15, mild apnea. 15 to 30 is moderate, and then anyone greater than 30 is considered to be severe. So next week we will get into modes of therapy. So we'll look at CPAP, AutoPAP, the difference in the two, and BiPAP. So we'll actually bring out some machines and look at those. And then in 2 more weeks, we will start to get into the mask. So we'll start getting out of the whole talking head type of video, and you'll get to see me in a few different masks and my friends in different masks, as I can talk them into that. Let me just go ahead and say, I understand that sleep apnea is not something to be taken lightly, but in the upcoming weeks, we're going to be posting some videos that have a little bit more humor in them, just so that we're not a talking head, just spouting out more information about sleep apnea. Now, the videos will stay educational, but we just want to make it a little bit easier to watch, and hopefully you'll come back and come back and come back and stay informed about and compliant about your obstructive sleep apnea. If you have any questions, you can post them below in the comment section. You can follow me on Twitter, or you can like the Facebook page. It's called Setup Solution. We're trying to build a community of CPAP users where it always stays positive, and the people who have been using CPAP for years can jump on there and help new users. So this week was obstructive sleep apnea terminology. Next week in 2 weeks, we'll post a video on modes of therapy. So until then, happy breathing, and I'll catch you next time.
Wasn't a fancy car, wasn't a diamond ring, wasn't friends or lovers at the end of the day. Cause life's hard and it can bring trouble. In the midst of this trouble, no one can take it away.